All right, welcome back, everyone. This is another episode of Speak with Larry's podcast. My name is Larry James. My company is Speak with Larry. One word. Google it. Tell me what you think. Anyway, on this show, I want to talk about creating content. Creating your content. When you decide to do something, now I spoke on a previous video about starting. Start. You have to start. Until you begin, you can't monitor, right? It's all up here. It's all in there. And you have to be able to get it from here to here, right? So you can't let there be a disconnect from what you're thinking to what you can create, right? That they have to work hand in hand, if you will. So think about this. Let's say you wanted to create a video or an audio or write a blog about a certain topic, which is the way it works. That's how it happens, right? You have to do the research if you don't already know the information, and then you have to be able to structure that information so that people are able to follow it, right? And when you do that, you get better at that. And as you get better at that, you're able to position yourself as an expert on certain topics, right? Now, do you really have to be an expert? Well, it depends on what you're trying to get solved. If you're trying to get more likes on your Facebook page or something like that, and I can show you how to do that, but I'm nobody's expert. I just know how to do that. As long as you get the results, that's what you would be looking for. But you as the content creator, from that perspective, you want to be able to create content that someone who's, we'll call them layman, which means they're not familiar with that specific area of expertise, want to get better at, right? Or want to be able to move their system from one level to the next level or the next level, right? So with that in mind, as you're creating your content, you want to structure it in a way that people who are not really familiar with that or versed on that process can just A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, follow those steps and get the results or similar results that you have gotten. Once you're able to do that, then a light bulb goes off because you're able to say, well, if I can do that for one person, perhaps I can do it for 5 people. If I can do that for 5 people, perhaps I can do that for 50 people, right? And then that's when you can actually feel the movement because people will begin to contact you for that result that you've been able to give those other people, right? And that's going to elevate you and your platform to another level. Now, is that difficult? That's not too difficult to do nowadays because we have this apparatus called the internet, which is probably how you're viewing me right now. And I'm no expert at putting all this together other than for my system. So I don't have to learn everything about the internet that's available. I only have to learn what I need to get the things done that I need to get done. And it's the same way with you. Once you decide what it is that you want to do, then there are going to be moving parts, right, if you will. You only need to learn those moving parts. You don't need to learn all the other things that are available. Because if there's only 5 things that it takes to set your system up and run your system, create your content, those are the only 5 things you need to be an expert at. Everything else is somebody else's position. You can outsource that. But you don't even want to focus on that. You only want to focus on what's necessary to consistently get your information or your message out to the public. And is everyone going to want your information? You tell me. Nope. Everyone is not interested in what you have to offer, which is why you want to begin to niche down into being able to market your information only to people who are interested, right? And there are ways to figure that out for yourself, and we'll go into that later in other videos. But today I want you to focus on creating content. If you're going to create a 2-minute content packaged information What would that be on that you could talk 2 minutes about right now? That you know what you're talking about. This is not like, I think this is how it would work. This is how it would work. See, you have to be that specific because you're actually leading people, you're guiding people to a place. And you want people to give good feedback when they get to that place. Like, I listened to this video with Larry James on Speak with Larry's podcast, and he walked me down this path. And before, I was afraid, or I couldn't seem to get all the way to the end. But after viewing that podcast episode, I just took 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, and I was there, right? And then what will happen is through word of mouth, which is one of the great ways to market, that will get around, and people will begin to say, hey, have you seen Larry James's video on such and such content creation? And then people will start to go and view it, right? That's the effect you want. You want that, but you don't want that to blow your head up. That's not what you're working toward here. What you're working toward is positioning yourself as the go-to person in a certain field, right? Yes, you want to consider yourself an expert at some point, but even experts feel a certain kind of way about addressing a certain audience, right? Even if let's say you're an expert and you've been doing this for 5-10 years, right? And the largest audience you spoke in front of, let's say maybe 500 people, right? If you get the opportunity to speak in front of 5,000 people, that may make you feel a certain kind of way because you hadn't experienced that before. And that's a different feel altogether, right? Now, that's way up the street, but that's possible for you, because you don't know what the world or the universe has for you until you begin doing something, right? You have to do something. You can't, what is the Bible quote? It says, faith without works is dead. You have to put in works in some arena. Which is why I recommend you put that work in something you enjoy. Because as I indicated on another video, this is not like just add water. This is real work, growing a business. It takes effort, it takes commitment, it takes time, it takes dedication, it takes perseverance. Because you're going to fail a lot. You're going to fail your way to success. And sometimes, I remember when I was beginning, I was like, wow, I've been doing this for a year. Nothing's happening. I've been doing this for 2 years, and I still hadn't made a dime, right? I'd done this for 3 years before I made any money at all that was of substance, right? But after you start making money, then you get to bring in new things to the puzzle, right? You get to upgrade some material. Your mind starts to shift, and you have met other people who are doing things that are similar to what you're doing. And a lot of times you kind of model what they do. I'm a firm believer that you should be able to mirror people. If you come to my studio and you're watching what I'm doing and you are trying to set up your own system, it's okay for you to set your system up very similar to mine, right? It's perfectly okay. But once you are able to identify who you really are and what message you're really trying to send, then the real you will come out. That's the way it works. We as thought leaders, I guess, sometimes we're always willing to help the next person because we know that once they get to a next level, then they'll bring the real who they are into the picture. Because that's what the world wants. The world don't want Larry James coming from you. The world wants Larry James coming from me because I'm Larry James, right? You can't be a better me than me. It doesn't work like that. And I can't be a better you than who you are. But if I'm willing to step out and introduce who I am and what I do to the world will reward that. It will reward that with you also, but only if you put in the work. Are you willing to put in the work? Because think about this. You only have to do, let's say, what I share with my clients is this. Initially, you're going to have to select one platform that you're going to create content for. It's going to be either audio, a video, or a blog. Whichever one of those you feel like you're more comfortable at. Like a lot of people are not comfortable in front of the camera. So the video wouldn't be good for them initially because they probably wouldn't get it done, right? But a lot of people are comfortable writing. So the blog is ideal for you to write things down, because if you like writing, that's the world you need to start, right? You're gonna create your information on 3 different platforms: audio, video, and the blog, the written format. So if you like the blog or you like to write better, just that's your first. You're going to create that same information on the audio, and you're going to create that same information on the video. Now you can have that done. You can outsource that, right? You can go to a Fiverr or different places like that, and you upload information, and they'll have someone read that. They'll charge you $5 or something like that. But it's all possible, right? Or one of the things that I like to say is that as you get better doing what you do, let's say you don't like being in front of the camera and you don't really like speaking on an audio, but you love to write. What you would do is you would write what you do. Let's say you create your own blog, and after you create your first piece of content, you say, okay, I'm going to create 3 blogs per week, right? With information about a certain topic that you know or you are interested in learning about. And once you learn about that topic, you can share that information with your audience that you're creating. And as you're sharing that information, it's helping these people, right? And as that help resonates, then they want to share that information with someone else, how they were able to acquire that knowledge, right? Or be able to take advantage of what you've written. Consistency. Once you create a blog, if you say you're going to create 3 blogs per week, after 30 days has gone by, that's 12 blogs that you've created. Now these blogs are probably 500,000, 1,500 words. Pretty in depth, right? But initially it seemed like a lot, but over that month, by the time you do that 30 days, 1,500 words isn't that's not a lot of words. Plus you're more specific with what you're doing, right? What you're talking about. And the benefit of that is now when you get the opportunity to speak in front of an audio, then you know what you're talking about. So there's not that much of a disconnect when it comes to the message you're trying to get out. You're not focusing so much on being in front of an audio as you were when you were initially starting, right? Because you get better with things over time. You get better. Let me say that again. You get better with things over time, but only if you start. You must start. If you don't start, you don't have anybody to blame but yourself, because the material needed is available to you right now. You probably have it already. If you have a phone, you already have it. So no excuses will suffice moving forward. Okay? Now, one more thing about creating content before I leave. Once you create that content, you have to market that content. And I'm going to go into that on the next video. Marketing your content. There's a process. You have to understand that process. So every time I create these podcast episodes, this is content creation. This is the content creation part, right? Once I create the content, then I have to upload this content to different platforms so that I'm able to market it, right? If I want to pay for ads, if I want to use organic information, just putting it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all those type of places, is relatively free, right? So you're going to reach more people, and you're going to reach a more specific audience when you're paying for those ads, though. And those ads are not really that much. It's just that you need to understand how to do that as well. And we'll go into that in later episodes. But that's pretty much what content creating is. You have to be able to take what's in here and put it where people can access it, right? Intellectual property, that's what makes you successful. But you have to gain that knowledge in order to put it in a structure that people can follow, right? All right, Speak with Larry's podcast. I'll see you on the next one.